folks, Why Would You Ask That is a podcast that answers some of the weirdest questions. A lot of those are inappropriate for some listeners. If you're squeamish, easily disturbed, or just having a bad day, this may not be for you. But if you've got to know the answers like we do, stay tuned.
Why would you ask that? My name is M, they, them, and with me today are...
Karen, she, her.
Remy, he, they.
And today, Karen is going to explain what the hell happened at Roan-Woke. Now, something like, stuff happened at Roan-Woke.
Stuff happened at Roan-Woke, indeed. So the first question, the question that you're bringing to me is, what happened at Roan-Woke? And I feel like at the end of this podcast, it's going to be a different, remind me at the end to bring up what that question might be.
I'll
do it.
I mean, I could tell you right now. The question that I think
spoilers.
Once after doing all of the research into it, my question is, why are people still asking this question? Because I feel like it's pretty obvious. So if you know all about the history of Roan-Woke, this is gonna be kind of so. Do either of you know anything about Roan-Woke?
CROATOA.
I know stuff about Roan-Woke.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna say anything. This is your episode. This isn't a me episode.
Well, I'm just curious how steeped in the lore we all are.
Lore now?
If you think about it, history is lore.
I know the general gist of the things that happened there, and I know the general legend around it, and I had an ancestor who was there.
You did?
What?
Wait, did we talk
You
about
have
this?
a personal connection with this?
I have ancestors everywhere, I've learned.
He does have, yeah.
What
You're
the-
related to all these famous people. Not famous
feel
necessarily, but...
If you had like a time travel backstory where it's just like all these people, you get to meet your ancestors, it's all various levels of fucked up.
It's true. It's because the Cash family like populated throughout like the Virginia coast. So like one of them was in Jamestown when Jamestown was founded, and also was a crime person. He did crime, and then one of them also was in Roanoke, further down wherever.
I wouldn't be surprised if our family is somehow linked in some weird way, because I also have like very long roots, but only mainly Virginia.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to find out.
Let's get into Roanoke's history. We're gonna basically there's two versions of Roanoke history. There's the actual thing that happened, which was there were people that actually lived there before the English came, and there's a few different tribes. There's the Roanoke, Croatan, then there's the Socotan, all under the linguistic umbrella of the Algonquin peoples, who that language like expands basically very, very far up like into Canada. And they have like these long trade routes, and from what I've read about the Croatan people, they had like a really it wasn't fully democratic, but basically there was the chief of the tribe who it was their job to disperse the wealth among the tribe, and they couldn't do anything if the tribe didn't like majority rule, basically. So if there were people that didn't want like them to do certain things, like maybe go hunting somewhere, they were like, no, that area is like all of the animals have gone to the other side of the island, so we want to go there. they have to like meet and discuss and kind of go to a vote, basically. So it was it was democracy before democracy existed.
Huh.
So there's the indigenous peoples, and then there's the white people. First, there were the French, who got there in like early 1500s, and they were like, oh, look, we found the Pacific Ocean, because they landed on Roanoke Island, and they thought that the other side of Roanoke Island, because if you are looking at Roanoke and you come in from the Atlantic Ocean, the island is not very big. So if you look across, you're like, oh, more ocean. This is the Pacific. This is the way to China.
Oh no.
It was not the way to China.
Fuck no.
I mean, you'd have to go a long way to get to China. But yeah, they really thought that it was the way to China. So the French went back and they tried to convince everybody to go. And they were just like, nah. So then later, it wasn't until Queen Elizabeth went into power that she sent people there. The first people she sent there, or she had the charter and she gave it to this guy, and he died. So it was split between his two sons. And one of them was Sir Walter Raleigh, who we all know as, you know, major big deal in English history as far as Elizabethan era is concerned. There's like a whole lot of very technical history stuff that goes on, and it kind of gives me a headache to go over it exactly. I'll be 100% honest. This period in time bores me to tears. Listening to all this stuff in history class, I was always so bored. I just didn't really care about discovering America, because I was just like, I just didn't really understand why. I mean, it's interesting, but also, like, I learned from an early age that the Trail of Tears was a thing. And so I was just kind of like, I feel like we shouldn't have been here.
Big same.
It's valid.
I mean, I just felt like, yeah, like it's a big deal that they brought, like, you know, because there were like two sides of like how I grew up. There was the, yeah, we were bringing Jesus to these, you know, uncivilized peoples. And then there was another side of me who watched PBS growing up and was like, oh, these people have actually like really cool traditions and beautiful mythology and structured religions. And yeah, it's not Christianity, but I mean, they have a lot of similar values. I'm like, if they also say that murder is bad, and we say murder is bad, I mean, who's to say that we're the ones in the right? I don't know. That's why I was just always so bored with this part of history. So if this stuff really interests you, I'm sorry, yeah, the main thing that I focused on and was curious about were the this kind of looking at it as like a story and not so much as history. The story of the Roanoke and the Croatan. So the Roanoke had this influential leader, and he was known as like one of the last leaders of the Roanoke. They're not sure if he was a chief or whatever, but he was a big deal, and everyone respected him, and he spoke for the Roanoke. He didn't trust the English, and he didn't really like what was going on. But on the other side of the coin were the Croatan, and their equivalent to Wanchese. I'm not saying that he's politically equivalent, but in that he was the spokesman for the Croatan to the English. So Manteo and Wanchese were both these two indigenous men who spoke for their tribes to the English. And Wanchese was very wary of the English. He didn't trust them. And then Manteo was so curious about them, and he wanted to learn everything about them. He helped them however he could. He was just really enthusiastic about what they could do together as people. So both of them ended up going with one of the governors back to England to sort of explain why their land is important and why they should put their money into colonizing it, which Wanchese was like, I really don't like this. He didn't like being around all of the people. He didn't like feeling like he was a spectacle while he was there in England. He felt really gross, and he was just like, I feel more like a prisoner than a guest, because he had to go to all of these big deal events, and he had to meet all these really important people, and of course he had to dress like them, and he had to act like them. He was very uncomfortable, but Manteo, he was really into it, and he eventually was baptized. He was the first American baptized under the Church of England. So he was all in. Both of them came back. They came back on an expedition back to Roanoke, and eventually what happened between them and the English is there was an attack where the English thought the Roanoke attacked them, but the English, instead of attacking the Roanoke, they accidentally attacked the Croatan, which were Manteo's people. So instead of getting back at Wanchese and his people who may have done the attack, it's not clear whether they did or not, but men died, and they claimed that the Roanoke attacked them, and then they retaliated, quote unquote, by attacking a different people who ended up being the Croatan. And Wanchese was obviously like, this is disgusting. I hate you all. Fuck you. Manteo, however, was kind of like in the middle. He like had very mixed feelings because he understood both of their points of view. So it kind of shows like these two lines of thinking within the indigenous community of the people who are trying to accept what's happening with colonization, and then those who are rebelling against it. And ultimately, I'm not sure what happened to Wanchese, but I believe that he left. I believe that he and the Roanoke were basically pushed out, whereas Manteo lived out his life as a Christian and tried to mission to the people. So that's like the one bit of this history that I was really interested in, was the stories of Wanchese and Manteo. And I feel like it would be a really good plot for a movie.
It sounds like it.
Not done by me, of course.
How is it not a movie?
Yeah. I would love to see, like, just because, like, that area is, like, home to me. And I feel like it would be a really cool setting. And, like, I know it's history, and of course it's, like, sad history, but I feel like it's a history that people need to know about, and I would love to know more about if people have access to it. So I just want it in an accessible form. So that's the story of the indigenous peoples of Roanoke Island. Getting into kind of the history that goes on, it's basically just back and forth of white people to Roanoke, back to England, to Roanoke, back to England, getting lost at sea, lots of issues. There's just people dying all the time, and no one knows, like, they go to America thinking that they're going to like start this grand colony, but it's like a group of guys who aren't like who have never done any of this in their lives. They're just like how do you classify these guys? They're not like working class guys, not they're like middle class guys. So it would be like if we, like all three of us, decided to go and start a colony somewhere. I know that you two are more outdoorsy than I am, so
I have never built a shelter. I
Yeah.
can barely put up a tent.
yeah, like we've never built a fort. We've never built fortification against the elements, against wildlife, against people who don't even want us there because we are in their house. Like it's just like I don't know what they were thinking, but and that's honestly my biggest problem with colonization is that the audacity.
Yeah. Like, if we could all have that kind of audacity, I don't know what we could do with it.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna go and start just take over. Like what like it's hard? There's so many people that died. Dysentery, starvation, frostbite. I'm like, there's so many reasons not to do this. There's so many reasons not to do it. So, anyway, the people of the Roanoke colony, because of people like Manteo, became friends with the Croatan. And the Roanoke peoples, they were not super happy with the colonists, obviously. So where they were friends with the Croatan, they traded information and in turn learned. There was one linguist who in turn learned the language of the Croatan people, and basically him and Manteo became very good friends and learned each other's language. And that guy, I would actually like him to be in the movie too, because I think he was kind of cool. I don't remember his name, but he is a dude from England, and he was like, the way that they're treating these people is very weird, and I don't like it. After so many times of being back and forth, this colony that had been developing in Roanoke, eventually it even led to the governor having the first white baby born in North America, which that's saying a lot because we don't know if the Vikings, we there's debate about whether or not the Vikings made it to America, and in that time it's possible that a white baby could have been born, but the first English baby was born in Roanoke, and they named her Virginia Dare, after Virginia and the Virgin Queen, and blah, 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 blah. So, the governor, he's like, okay, I'm going to go to England to get some more supplies and all that. And so he leaves. And then when he comes back, the whole colony is empty.
Wah, wah, wah.
He's like looking around, what happened? He doesn't necessarily find any sort of scuffle. He doesn't find any evidence of a fight or a battle having taken place. Like, he doesn't find arrows on the ground. He doesn't find guns or swords anywhere. He just finds, like, this place is cleared out. Like, all the supplies, no supplies, all the people were gone. It was like they had cleared out. And he's like, but where did they go? And all that he could find was the word Croatoan. So maybe that means that they went to the Croatoan island. But before he could follow that lead, they lost their anchor and he had to go back to England. And they just never went back.
Well,
so obviously, aliens.
Obviously, where the fuck do aliens come in on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there were no people there. So aliens.
There's no people coming out of my fucking asshole. Aliens?
The aliens came and abducted the people. Obviously.
They abduct them out of my asshole too?
Apparently.
How does this work? How the fuck?
We can never understand.
I understand.
We can never understand alien technology. There. You were not there.
I was there.
You were not.
I was there every second, every breath they took, every step they took.
Em was watching them.
You watched the aliens abduct.
It wasn't aliens, bro. It was the U.S. Army.
Huh. The army that didn't exist yet?
That's what they want you to think. Don't be such a sheep.
I feel that. I feel that in my bones. There's a very long-winded story about setting the scene for Roanoke. Now we can get into the theories. 1, aliens.
No.
Do you believe in aliens?
I do.
So why is it not?
Because why the fuck? There's so many more interesting things to do.
Aliens are what everybody thinks about everything.
Why would it be aliens?
Well, because no one was there. Like, the aliens were like, I mean, the stage was set. These people had all this time where they were isolated and they were hungry and poor, and the winter was coming, and the people who were in charge were gone. So the aliens swooped in and they were like, perfect. And then they snatched them up. And that was that.
I feel like it's more likely that I would eat someone.
Oh, there's another theory.
Oh, delicious, nutritious, priam-filled human meat.
Yes. Some people believe that what happened was they turned to cannibalism due to the lack of supplies being there and the lack of people being there. Well, must have just eaten each other. But then the question remains, where's the person who ate everybody?
Ate himself. Went on. Moved to France.
So the theory is that a single person managed to, like, finish off everybody else?
Well, or they ate each other until there was one person left standing.
Well, then that guy just wandered off into the wilderness and died like a sick cow or something.
Nah, you know what? Who's that hungry guy in France?
Oh, that hungry guy in France. Hold on, I know that.
Terroir!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm certain that's not how you say his name, though.
Terroir, but fancy in French.
Fancy in French, yep.
I don't know how to pronounce literally anything. Every word that comes out of my mouth is put through a translator so that it could get to people. My words are important.
I mean,
but the content of them are not. Absolutely not.
Cannibalism is actually possible because the amount of time between when they left and when they came back was 2 years. You had 2 years from when the people who needed to go get more supplies left, so you were already low on supplies, and then you're just stuck there for who knows how long, and y'all just turn to eating each other, and then 2 years pass and there's only one left. But then where are the bones? That's the question.
Eat the bones. Just swallow, unhinge the jaw. Terroir ate babies.
What? Who is this person?
A whole nother episode is what he is.
Guess so.
Like, seriously. I think about this guy a lot. Can't believe he did time in Roanoke.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other theories as to what might have happened, aside from the obvious one?
You hold on, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce this guy's name.
Type it.
It's Tar Rare. Tarrar. Again, you're French. Yep. Oh, wait. Only one pair of R's. Tarrar. Other way. Come on. There we go. Yeah.
Tarrar. I think that the two R's together makes it a hard R, so.
I mean, the pronunciation
Okay.
guide is...
Okay,
Ugh.
here, listen to it.
Tahar.
I can't... My stubby little tongue can't do it again.
Okay.
Tahar.
Taha.
Taha.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay, so it's like so the ta ha is like in the back of your throat.
Taha.
Ha, an H sound.
You're the one who took French.
It's like making an H, but like hitting the top of the top of the back of your mouth. It's like ta ta ha ha.
Tahini.
The R is like a le. It's kind of almost an L.
Da.
Da.
Like the Japanese ra.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
That's the one I have. I can't do the French da.
Ha.
Ha.
Ha. So you know the feeling when you like you do like a hiss.
Look, we even hiss different, bro.
I'm trying to find a way to. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But do like a.
Oh, what?
Like ha
Ta.
ha
tarar. See, I can't do it very well either.
ta.
The languages that I learned how to speak were Spanish and German. And
Yeah.
neither one of them uses that sound. The German back of the throat sound like so.
Look, I can only like read it if it's in a sentence and I'm reading in French.
Yeah.
So even then,
But-
it's questionable.
R
It's a
has
lot.
like 15 different.
I'm very
Yeah.
confused.
Ours are hard. And also, I watched the linguistics video, since we're off on this tangent, about how R's are the way that you can tell different accents apart, because in America we say our R is different than they say it over in Europe, which is how people learn how to do American accents, is by learning how to roll their R's differently, because Americans roll their R's.
Well, even just in the different regions of America, it sounds different. So
Yes, it does.
yeah, most of them learn Midwestern.
Yes, they do.
standard.
Because Americans form their R's in a different part of their mouth than people form their R's in, like, England. So English speakers, like, literally form their R's in a literal whole different section of their mouth than we do over here in any realm of the United States, except for the southern region of the United States where we are, and Tangier Island.
Yes.
Those
I love
here in
Tangier.
here in the South and Tangier Island are the closest to British English, as far as like R and vowel pronunciations, as much as they probably really hate to hear it.
Well, it's usually the high society Savannah assist.
Actually, it's the Appalachian region.
The Appalachian region.
Yeah, it's because those people got like locked from society, like Tangier's Island.
Oh, okay.
So their pronunciation of things and Tangier Island pronunciation of things have similar phenomena going on. They're like an antiquated pronunciation.
Antiquated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew I said it wrong when it came out of my mouth.
I mean,
Yeah, you're not even from the right like part of the region either, because it's like the deep part, and you're not even from the deep part.
like Tennessee and Kentucky.
Yeah, like the hills, like the deep part. Like where the old
Well-
gods of Appalachia is set.
Well, I mean, my family is from that.
You know what, Karen? I also have family from that part.
Yeah.
I don't know where my family's from. I have to ask, probably, but I'm not going to because I'm going to forget.
Anyway, I just needed to know what that guy's name was pronounced like, because it was irritating me that I couldn't remember it. And you know that guy. Now we can loop back. You do know who that guy is. I think I heard you say that you didn't know who he was. You do know who that guy is, because I did TikToks about him. It was on my episode of The Man Who Ate the Airplane.
That guy.
Yeah, the Man Who Ate the Airplane was a different guy, but Tarar, whatever. That guy, Tarar, he was a historical guy who ate like metal and glass and cats and dead bodies and things and babies. Yeah, not a joke, a truth.
Not a joke. A truth.
A truth.
Yeah. So yeah, he could be a whole episode, and people who also are like him. Gotta put it down. And cannibalism is also extremely likely for Roanoke, like you said, because it happened in Jamestown.
Okay, I'm gonna go down my list of theories.
Okay.
The most bizarre to the most likely.
Okay.
So the most bizarre theory, they turned into trees.
Yeah, that
What?
definitely outdoes the whoo-wee.
I haven't heard that theory.
Yeah, because it was carved, the word was carved into wood. What if they turned into this tree that had the word CROATOA on it? But it turns out it wasn't even a tree. It was a palisade. So, or palisade, sorry. Ugh.
Palisade or palisade?
I've heard it both ways. Okay. Aliens, discussed. Cursed by witches.
Cursed by witches. Okay.
Yeah, witches, easy to blame at this time. Everyone hates witches. It's not quite full on Puritan stuff going on at this time because it's not even the 1600s, but yeah, anti-witch goes all the way back to like even before now. So some people think that they were cursed by witches, and you can probably still hear their wails in the night. Or they turned into witches. It's also a possibility.
They turned into witches.
Yeah. They abandoned God and became witches and dispersed into the wilds, or went to hell to be with Satan. Really take your pick about what they did, but either way, I don't know. Turning into a witch sounds better than being cursed by one, so maybe it was a 50-50 split. I would watch that movie.
Sounds like a Scooby-Doo movie.
It does. It does sound like a Scooby-Doo movie. The next was cannibalism. I felt that was more, I felt that was like less out there than all of the others because I could see it happening. The next possible theory, this is very conspiracy theory. They were actually sabotaged by Sir Francis Walsingham, who was Queen Elizabeth's Secretary of State, all to fuck over Sir Walter Raleigh, and it was under Queen Elizabeth's orders.
That seems like a lot of work, but okay.
That one is a very interesting claim.
Okay, Karen. Okay, Sir Francis Walsingham is my ancestor.
Fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not.
Oh my god. Remy, you can't be related to both Sir Francis Walsingham and a guy who was at the Roanoke colony. Like, you can't. What? How is this possible?
What the F? Remy!
Oh my god.
No.
Remy!
I'm sorry.
How? I mean, I know that it's possible, and it's actually highly likely because they all ran in the same circles as the people who colonized America, so it's probably highly likely that you're related to both Sir Francis Walsingham and a person who was at the Roanoke colonies. So, that's a family feud, all right? This has bumped up to more likely. If you can find some family drama between Walsingham and the person who went to Roanoke, I would write that movie. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I even remember sending you this screenshot This one
You
right here.
probably did. And I was like, huh, that's neat. Just didn't connect the dots.
Yeah, I do remember this.
Okay. The next theory is I don't know anymore if this is more or less likely. They scattered and died of the cold. That's very possible to me. I feel like that is possibly likely to happen, but at the same time, I can't imagine splitting up. So the idea of them scattering, but then again, people hold grudges, and who knows what happened in those 2 years? Maybe things got crazy, but so there's that. And then another more likely theory, the Spanish came in and did away with them. The problem with that is that there was no evidence of a scuffle or anything like that. So it's possible that the Spanish they didn't fight back, and the Spanish took them and their supplies and actually kept them as prisoners of war or slaves. I don't know. But I feel like the Spanish nabbing them is a possibility.
Yeah, that one seems pretty valid too.
Yeah. I mean, it's right along their route. The Spanish and the English were at war during those 2 years. So maybe while the English were distracted, the Spanish swooped in and were like, the only thing that I find kind of meh, maybe not, is that it was a really small colony. I mean, what were the like? I don't know. I just felt like it wouldn't be really worth their time. I don't know. That was my opinion, but I don't know anything about colonizing a country or preventing colonization either.
I've never done it myself. All of my heritage has been colonized by you white people, so. Actually, my heritage also colonized itself.
It's unfair.
It just do be like that sometimes.
It'd be like that.
Yeah, on the one side of me, I have the native colonized side, and on the other side, I have some pretty horrific stuff done by the white side of me. So, somewhere in my ancestral past, somebody knows whether or not somebody would want to bother with 150 starving white people.
Yeah, I have basically just a whole lot of poor white people in my background, but my dad told me that there was an interesting thing that he found in his family history, that one of our family members basically went and left, quote unquote, civilization and went to live with the Native Americans.
Huh.
Interesting.
I don't know anything more than that. That person is related to me through someone else, so it's like I'm like they were like an uncle kind of deal. So I don't have any of that blood line of any family that he had. Anyway, yeah, so the next highly likely theory is that they were murdered by indigenous people, not specifically anybody on the islands, because Powhatan in Virginia claimed that he killed them all.
Okay, sure. Why not?
There's no proof, and he said a lot of things to sound tough.
I do too.
I mean, they did a lot. They would say anything to keep colonizers out, but also he was saying it to intimidate his enemies. So, I mean,
I'm also intimidated.
I mean, it's likely. It's not unlikely, because while the Roanoke, I feel like the people of Roanoke and Croatan, they were not necessarily the most violent of the indigenous peoples, whereas I know that on the mainland, a lot of those tribes were more active in their rebellion against colonization.
I can relate.
I do not blame them. And a way that they kept power among each other was through battles and war and things like that. So whereas I think with the Croatan and the people of Roanoke, they're kind of kept to their islands, and if they left the islands, it was to trade. I don't think that they were necessarily warmongers. Not to say that they were necessarily peaceful, but based on the limited research I've done, they weren't necessarily violent tribes. It's possible that tribes from the mainland made it over there and killed the people of Roanoke colony, but again, there was no evidence of a fight. No evidence at all. It looks like they literally just disappeared and took their supplies with them. So that's why the next possible theory, which was the Croatans killed them, is also, I'm not really sure, because again, there's no evidence of any attack or battle, anything like that. It just disappeared. So that leads me to the most likely theory, which is they assimilated with the Croatans. They were like, we're out of food, it's winter, we're tired, and we don't know what we're doing. So the Croatan people were like, just hop on over here and we'll help to keep you all alive. And they crossed over there. So I think that is the most likely, because they left a note that said Croatoan, which is the name of the island. So I feel like that is the most accurate theory. And there's like evidence in their genealogy that people can trace themselves back to England on these islands. And I mean, of course, colonization existed and there was, but I just pretty sure this is what happened.
This is the one that I've always seen quoted as being the thing that very probably happened based on the evidence that exists. And I think I saw something about genetics. I don't know. I'd have to relook it up because I didn't do any research for tonight.
I did as much as I could. I'd love to learn more about the people who lived here. Wikipedia and very basic Google searches do not provide all the information that is necessary to provide to people. So the question, what happened to Roanoke? I think the better question is, why are we still asking this question? I feel like it's pretty obvious.
Just 'cause.
Oh, okay. So in 2007, it says, this is an article from August of this year, in case you want to go into it a little.
Yeah.
In 2007, it says the efforts began to collect and analyze DNA from local families to try and figure out if they related to the Roanoke settlers, local Native American tribes, or both. And then it says, despite the lingering mystery, it seems there's one thing to be thankful for. The lessons learned at Roanoke may have helped the next group of English settlers who came there and founded Jamestown. So now I need to click on this and find out what happened with the DNA analysis. Sorry, I jumped the gun there. But also, this says that another hypothesis was that people think they maybe tried to just sail back to England.
Oh,
how?
No. They didn't have any boats.
How would they have done that?
I also feel like there's no evidence to support that. I feel like they would have used the lumber from like their shelters and their fortifications, rather than, that one's way too far-fetched. I can imagine somebody came up with the idea while they were there, and then everybody shot him down. Like, how the fuck are we gonna get to England? We're not even a full crew.
That is too far.
There's literally a baby. What are we gonna do?
Feed him to Tarar.
Tahar. Tahar.
Tragic little man.
Okay, here we go. Here was the results of all this research. There's a book called The Lost Colony and Hatteras Island by a dude named, sorry, I had to scroll back up, Scott Dawson. So him and his team of archaeologists, historians, botanists, geologists, and others have been conducting digs and research for 11 years as of the writing of this, it said. And he said that they have found, quote, thousands of artifacts 4 to 6 feet below the surface that show a mix of English and Native American artifacts and life. Parts of swords and guns are in the same layer of soil as pottery and arrowheads. And then he says, in a spot the size of 2 parking spaces, we found 10,000 pieces.
Wow.
His book also draws from original writings of John White, Thomas Harriot, and others who are some of the people who brought colonists over and was part of the colony. Most of their writings were compiled at the time by English historian Richard Hakluyt, or whatever how you say his name. There's a Y in there. Records from Jamestown also went into his research. The evidence shows the colony left Roanoke Island with the Croatoans to settle on Hatteras Island. They lived there, according to what they can tell, and just interbred from what they can gather based on all of their archaeological digging and DNA testing and the writings from the surrounding colonies and all of that. It says, more than a century later, explorer John Lawson found Native Americans with blue eyes who recounted they had ancestors who could speak out of a book, quote, Lawson wrote. The two cultures adapted English earrings into fish hooks and gun barrels into sharp-ended tubes to tap tar from trees.
Better use for those guns.
It was expected the colonists would go with their friends, the Croatoans and tribe member Manteo, Dawson said. Manteo had traveled to England with earlier expeditions and was baptized a Christian on Roanoke Island. White later wrote of finding the writing on the post, quote, I greatly joyed that I had found a certain token of their being at Croatoan where Manteo was born, end quote. And then it says that White wrote that a storm and a near mutiny on his ship stopped him from going over to the other island. And so he just went back to England.
Yep.
So there's extensive evidence that they just interbred with the surrounding Native American tribe.
Beautiful.
Solved.
We did it. Pack up your bags, everybody. We done did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. Yeah. We did it.
We did
Yeah.
it.
That was good. I didn't know some of that.
Thanks, everybody, for helping us solve the mystery of what happened to Roanoke. I don't know what happened in my mouth, but that's how it be. Thanks for stepping up this week, Karen. We love you. No Romo.
I hope it was entertaining, at least a little bit.
It was interesting, and I didn't know some of it. And I want to believe that they all turned into trees.
I feel like that's the most satisfying ending.
Yes.
For everyone. I don't know. I like to imagine that they joined the people of CROATOA. I would watch that movie. Okay. Here's how I want it. I want it as a rom-com. I want it set up as like a rom-com where like it's mostly comedy with some romance where they're like he's betrothed to this guy and he's like, oh yeah, I'm going back to England and don't worry babe, I'll be back. And then he like gets on the boat and goes back to England, and then she's like, record scratch, that's me, right before shit hit the fan. And then like fast forward to like maybe 6 months, and it's cold and they're all like dying, and she's like, voiceover is like, yeah, being in a colony in like the very early ages of America kind of sucked. Decided to just leave a note for our friends, and place sucks. They go join the people in CROATOA. And it's just like a montage of them trying to assimilate and doing stupid things, but patient. It's specifically develop a very real connection because it's a rom-com. And then it ends with her being like, yeah, I never heard from that guy in England ever again, but honestly, who cares?
My movie pitch is that I want them to be struggling during the starving time of they're like watch their governor sail away to go bring like 100 more colonists back, and they're like, please no, there's already more than enough of us, and then they suffer a lot, and so they're like, guess we gotta starve and eat people, and so then it's like a grim movie where they're like survivalist, like trying not to be cannibals, and so then they're like, you know what we got to do to not be cannibals? Turn to witchcraft. And
yes.
so then they're gonna make a pact with the devil, and it's got to be like Tim Curry in Legend, the Devil. Have you seen that movie? I bet you haven't. I feel like nobody but me have seen that movie.
Nope.
Oh, then we should.
I think I actually have it on my list.
Well, he's a sexy devil.
Tim Curry, sexy devil.
Well, he's like naked from the waist up, so and he's got these ginormous horns. I'm sending you this picture. Hold on.
Ew.
The movie has got like a young Tom Cruise in it, and like I don't remember the actress's name, but she's very pretty, and it's set in like a magical land where it's like they kill a unicorn accidentally, and now they have to fix it. And Tim Curry's a devil who's trying to like seduce the woman. She's in a very skimpy outfit for a while. It's very sexy.
Hot. Oh no.
I watched it as a child, and it's what's wrong with me. This is why I like villains, I think.
Tim Curry just does that to people.
He just does it to people. It's got to be a sexy devil, right? And so they're like, yes, of course. This is why I haven't been witches this whole time. And
yeah.
Then they turn to witchcraft, right, to fix their problem. But people who don't want to do it get turned into trees, because I like that theory. Now, I don't know how CROATOA comes into it. I can't finish the movie. That's why I'm not a script writer. But I just want that stuff.
What if
No, witchcraft is saving the day, right? So
yeah, exactly. So okay, so you keep witchcraft and like that stuff as one thing, but then you have the people of Croatan Island also, like they have like their own thing, and maybe anyway, they have a whole separate magic system, so they work together and to put the Puritans under the curse, and they have to seal it with the words Croatoan, because the Puritans are trying to kill the witches.
Ah, that works. That's good.
Like they turn to witchcraft, and like things become like bountiful because they're actually like working with the land. If that makes sense?
Yes.
And then the white Puritan colonists are like there's been a schism, and the Puritans are like, no, witchcraft. So they like form this pact that the lighting for them is always like really, really dark and red and gets progressively more demonic, whereas the people who are practicing witchcraft, it becomes softer. And Satan, I don't know. I like the idea.
Do you have a movie?
I don't.
Okay. Well, listeners, we've given you 2 free story ideas to go write books about, or short stories. Go put those out into the world, please.
Yes, please. Thank you. But thanks, everybody, for listening. We are very excited to take your questions, too, because we want to hear them and we want to answer them, and we are so super qualified to answer questions. So what you can do is you can visit our website, which is whywouldyouskthat.com, and go to that little contact form, throw in a question, or you can email us at whywouldyouskthatpod@gmail.com. So please send us your questions. We don't care how weird it is, how gross it is. Just don't ask any personal questions. That's our one line. Ask your weird questions. That's what we want. So thank you for listening. This is M, Karen, and Remy, and ask us some shit. Thank you. Good night.